step number 1 to making a perfect budget. Create a beautiful budget from scratch and make it look fancy with color codes and formulas everywhere. Then fill it all up with your income, expenses, and everything in between. And then here's the part that most people screw up. Delete it. Yup, hit that delete button. But wait, you're not done. Go to the trash bin and delete it again. Oh, and don't forget to delete it from the cloud because you know big tech is probably keeping a copy somewhere. Finally, delete it from existence so that the budget is officially out of your life for good. And now go about living your life and actually thriving. Here's the thing, if you're budgeting every single month, chances are you're not rich. And guess what? No rich person is sitting there painstakingly budgeting every single month.
Then why do you do it every month?
Now you might be thinking they probably had a budget in place to get rich and then they stopped once they got rich, right? Hell no. These rich folks never really budgeted in the first place, at least not in the way you're probably thinking. And let's be real, all those people whose budgets you see online, they're either not following it regularly or have someone else doing it for them because you know they're that rich, or they're just doing it to showcase it to the world and get views, which is actually a good thing because that way the world gets to learn from them. But don't let all of that fool you. And before we talk about what we should be doing instead, let's first try and understand why are we budgeting in the first place. It's not to make a fancy spreadsheet, though I get it, those pie charts can be oddly satisfying.
That's so cool how you have my name at the top.
It's not to seem responsible and the grown-up thing to do, although tracking your expenses in a sheet is a very easy way of achieving that. But at the core of it, people budget because they want to save money for the future, or maybe for the goal, or just in case life throws them a curveball. So that you're on top of your finances and ultimately achieve your financial goals. As long as we're achieving that, the way we get there doesn't really matter, right? So then the real question is, can you actually achieve your money goals without a budget? And the answer is 100% yes. And this requires a serious mental shift. If you've even remotely tried budgeting in the past, then you firsthand know the challenges here. It's a lot of effort and takes time. You're constantly tracking every little expense and stressing over whether you can afford that extra coffee. It's super exhausting. I mean, seriously, it's 2024. Why are we doing all of this manually? And trust me, there's no one tool that can automate this perfectly. It's a freaking mess. I'm actually thinking of building an application that does this and solves a few more problems in the financial space. If you're interested in being part of a product startup, then drop me a comment below. It's unreliable AF. Let's say you look at your budget and realize you're spending too much on something you love. Then what? Are you just going to stop doing it or change because it costs you a lot, ignoring how much you actually love doing this activity?
How can I do that?
For instance, I spend about $15 to $20 per football game or session, or soccer for you people who think it's actually called that. No, it's not. It's called football.
No, we play football. I believe you call it soccer.
15 to 20 bucks every time can add up really quickly if I play frequently. And if my budget tally tells me that I spend significantly on football, I mean, should I stop playing football altogether? But I love playing football. It's one of those things that I'm super passionate about. Not really practical, right? And so it's important to understand that budgeting is great at telling you what you did wrong, but not so much at helping you fix it. You inevitably fail. Budgeting works up until it doesn't. You might be able to keep it up for the month when it's new and exciting, and then life just happens. You slip up and suddenly you're off the wagon feeling like crap about it.
This sucks.
It's demotivating AF, and nobody needs that energy in their life. You can't predict the future. Your budget is based on what you think is going to happen. But guess what? Life is super unpredictable, and that throws your budget out the window.
I didn't like it.
And then this goes back to the previous point I mentioned where you inevitably fail and you feel miserable about it. I mean, it's a depressing endless loop or cycle.
Sounds rough.
You start pinching pennies. This one's the most important one out of the lot. When you're focused on the little stuff, you completely miss the bigger picture. You'll save a dollar here and there, but miss out on the opportunity to actually grow your wealth.
You need to look at the bigger picture.
I mean, saving a few bucks here and there, and even hundreds might seem like it's a huge win, but think practically. There's no way that's going to make you rich.
This is all a moot point.
I mentioned this in my previous videos where I speak about why it's so important to not focus on the smaller wins, which are actually losses, and instead focus on the bigger amounts in your finances. And of course, making more money. These are all the reasons why I personally ditched budgeting. The more I budgeted, the more I realized something. I was focusing on the wrong things. Instead of looking at ways to increase my income, I was obsessed with cutting costs. I was in this weird cycle of scarcity where every dollar I spent felt like a loss. And you know what? It wasn't making me any happier or wealthier. And so finally I just said enough is enough, and I deleted my budget, fully apprehensive about what is going to happen. And guess what? The world didn't end. In fact, things actually started getting better.
I'm not superstitious, but I am a little stitious.
If there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. Budgeting can actually trap you in a cycle of scarcity. When you're focused on limiting your spending, you're not thinking about how to grow your wealth. You're stuck in this mindset of, I can't afford this, instead of, how can I afford this? It's like trying to get fit by just eating less rather than working out and building muscle.
Probably the stupid diet I'm on.
And budgeting often keeps you in a scarcity mindset where you're constantly worried about not having enough. And so instead of focusing on cutting costs, I started focusing on how to increase my income.
More money, more problems, Stanley. You of all people should know that.
I've said this time and again on this channel, there's only so much you can save by cutting back, but the potential to earn more is limitless.
You can always make more money.
So I shifted my energy to finding ways to bring in more money. Be it side hustles, investments, passive income streams, whatever I could do to increase my cash flow. And that simple mind shift change was huge. I actually started making more money. Suddenly I wasn't stressing over whether I could afford a latte or not. I was thinking bigger, like how could I do more with my life, save more, invest more, and live the life I actually wanted. And so you can see how all of this can snowball and work against you. And here's the kicker, because you're so focused on the small stuff instead of the bigger picture, budgeting can actually stop you from getting rich.
Oh, I see how it works now.
When you're always bothered about saving a few bucks here and there, you miss out on opportunities to invest, grow, and build your wealth. You're so busy trying to save money that you forget to make money. Remember, you don't get rich by saving, you get rich by earning more, investing, and letting your money grow. So stop obsessing over your budget and start thinking about the bigger picture.
I found $1 while I was waiting for the bus.
While you were out earning that dollar, you lost $40 by not going to work.
Woohoo! A 4-day weekend.
So what's the alternative here? What should you be doing instead? Know your ballpark expenses. This is a one-time activity. Know roughly what you spend each month, that's it. There's no need to track every single dollar. And definitely no need to constantly update the sheet and analyze and all of that.
Works like a charm.
Now that you know that, build systems. Know how much you need to save, invest, and spend. Set up a system where you're not relying on willpower. This includes paying yourself first, which would align with your long-term goals.
That's your system?
That's my system.
Automate this process and then enjoy spending what's left over and live your freaking rich life. Extreme ownership and responsibility. Now that you know your ballpark numbers, it's important to be responsible and own these numbers. This takes some serious practice, especially if you're not used to having a system or a plan to handle your finances. The next point could also help solidify your responsibility, which is know your why. This one's a game changer. When you know why you're doing something, you're less likely to slip up. Okay, this might sound a little deep or philosophical, but this is something that people skip out on for most, if not all areas of their lives, be it personal finance, relationships, businesses, work, etc. I mean, it's important to sit down and contemplate why you're doing all of this. What's the bigger picture here? And with your finances, like, what are your plans with your money?
Money? What you need money for?
Do you really have a particular goal or target in mind? And it's important to get really specific and journal to uncover these.
All that will be remembered is that I had a good idea. And that's what I'm going to write down in my diary.
I mean, I used to think journaling was all BS, complete waste of time. But I've realized that the act of simply getting something off my head onto a document or a sheet of paper lifts a massive, massive weight off my shoulder and my head.
It felt good. It felt right.
And the more I did this, the more things became automatic for me. One place this has helped me massively are impulse buys. Every time I see the latest iPhone or AirPods or something on sale, I remember my why. And it keeps me grounded. Finally, do a yearly assessment. Once a year, sit down and check your expenses, savings, and investments. Make adjustments if needed. It's like a monthly financial checkup, but without the headache of monthly budgeting. I mean, this will help you uncover things in less than an hour and will help you either course correct or double down on your financial goals. And so now I track my spending loosely, but I don't stress over every single dollar. I invest in myself, in assets that appreciate, and in opportunities that can help me grow my wealth. And let me tell you, life is so much better when you're not worrying about every single penny. And just like me, if your main aim is to get rich, and I mean really filthy rich, then surprisingly, there's only one way to achieve that. And no, it's not by investing. Click here to find out how. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you here.